Who's ready to go drag racing? I know I am. The no prep drag racing scene is exploding right now, and with good reason. It's a fun sport that pretty much anybody could get into. There's clubs popping up all over the place, and now it's about to get even easier to get into this segment. Check out what's over there on the workbench. We have the new Losi 22S no prep drag car, and this thing looks incredible. You could basically take this thing out of the box at the track, throw in a battery, and be competitive with it. Let's head over to the workbench and check it out. Take a look at this absolutely incredible 1969 drag Camaro by Losi. This thing is absolutely amazing. I can't lie to you guys. When this thing arrived here at the workshop, I spent 2 hours just staring at it. It totally killed my workday, but it was worth it. This thing is that cool. Now, if you're a regular subscriber here on the channel, you know the deal. We are going to go into a lot of detail about this car. That's what I like to do here on the channel. What I will do is I will put a time key down below. So if you're not into all the details, you just want to see it run, you can go down there and click on the time key for the section of the video you want to watch. And for those of you that just want to go and buy it, I'll have a link down there as well. If you want some more information from Losi, I will have a link to their website. So I will have everything for you. But I really recommend that you stick around, check it out, because this thing is just incredible from top to bottom, front to back, and I can't wait to tell you about it. All right, first up, let's talk about the Camaro body. This is absolutely incredible, and you probably noticed in the background, there's the box. It comes in two different liveries. So it's got the red Summit Racing body, and then it's got this killer deep blue body, and I love it. This is absolutely fantastic. The detail, the scale work on here, they just went the extra mile. We'll start off at the front here, and you can see this is actually a multiple piece body. You can see the screws holding the front clip on, and then we've got screws back here that hold the rear on as well. But that is done so they can get some really great detail in here. You can see that the sides are even rolled in, which I really like. There's some Nerf bars behind there, and they just tuck in underneath it. But let's go back up front. So the grill here is a molded grill, chromed. That looks absolutely awesome. And it's a separate bumper piece as well. So that's chromed, and it just gives you that scale detail that you want out of a drag car. You know, drag racing, it's about performance, but lately it's also about having a really scale look, and Losi really nailed it on this one. And to top it all off, we've got clear lenses here and LED lights behind the buckets. That's cool. It comes with the LED lights. They're plugged in from the factory. All right, let's work our way down. We got this cool cowl hood on here. I absolutely love that. They probably could have put some window trim on, but we'll let that slide because, you know, this has just got a cool sleek look to it. I'm really loving it. And then out back here, we have a molded wing. So kind of like the same molded plastic that you see on TLR vehicles. That's what this is made out of. So when you go and roll this thing, because, you know, things do happen. You might start swaying on the drag strip and the thing rolls. This is going to take some abuse, whereas, you know, a Lexan wing might shatter, might crack, and, you know, I think this is really going to hold up. All right, let me spin this thing around so we can take a look at the rear of the vehicle. And check this out. We've got tail lights in the rear. Yes, LED lights inside as well. Chrome bumper, and the rear bumper cover actually goes down really low, almost all the way to the tires. It's cut out to clear the wheelie bar. And I think this is incredible. I think they did a fantastic job with this body. One more thing I do want to note is the body clip placement. I'll show you the body post in a minute, but they really tried to move the body post far out to kind of where it would be on a real car. So it's kind of, you know, try to keep it as scale as possible and use those body clips to kind of their advantage of making it look good and still supporting the body properly. All right, let me pull the body off and we can take a closer look at the chassis. All right, so I've got the body off, and I just wanted to show you guys quickly underneath. They backed it up with silver, which is fantastic. Check out the wires, all nice and neatly run, taped down. The LED lights are clipped in place. Just a fantastic looking body overall. All right, now it's time to talk about the chassis. So this is a 22S based chassis for the no prep drag car. It's similar to the 22S short course truck, but they actually went through a lot of revisions. It's pretty much unique to itself, but I'm gonna talk about the differences here and there, and of course give you all the details. So let's start off with the tires actually. These are Mickey Thompson licensed tires. We've got a low profile drag front rib tire up there. And then in the back, we've got a nice MT drag radial. Really cool looking tire. And it's made out of the IIR compound. It's a 50 Shore. And supposedly when you do a burnout with this, it will smoke the tires, which I can't wait to do. That is going to be awesome. But they feel pretty sticky right out of the box here. And from what I heard, they really do grip. Now, the wheels on here, they aren't licensed. You know, to me, they look like a Weld 5-spoke wheel, a nice satin finish on there, 12mm hex, and it's got the offset rear tire. You can see the larger diameter on the inside back here, and the standard style wheel out here on the face of it. It's a really good looking tire set right out of the box. All right, now let's start off with the front. And they've got a new front bumper on here for the 22 series. You know, it's this low profile bumper with some bracing. And if you look really close, it's got a plate here. And this plate is basically so you could go and add some weights to it and even screw the weight in place. I was looking for some of my TLR weights to put on there, but I didn't have any. But that is a really cool feature that you could screw down the weight to the front of the car. Now the body mounts, this is what I was mentioning before, they're really wide, they're really well braced, and it kind of puts it in a position where it supports the body well and looks kind of scale on the outside. All right, now let's move on to the suspension. And these are 22S style shocks, a front shock, and they're a composite body shock. We've got a bleeder cap on top, simple preload clips, and the oil inside is actually a 40 weight oil. And I'm gonna move on to the rear really quick. It's a 70 weight oil in the rear. And this is pretty much the oil setup that drag car racers are using. So Losi gave it to you right out of the box. You know, typically you'd see like maybe a 30 weight oil all the way around, but they set it up for racing for you right out of the box. Like I said, you could go to the drag strip, put the battery in, and really run this thing and be competitive with it. And I really wanted to point that out because I think it's fantastic that they did that for you. Another cool thing to note is they do have adjustable tie rods on this, so you can adjust those all the way around the car. On the regular 22S series, they did not have that. They were fixed links, so that is a welcome addition there. And then we've got these really cool swept arms, or a nice firm plastic on this as well. I like that. Captured hinge pins. On the outside, it's the standard 22S caster blocks and steering knuckles. You can see the bearings inside of the steering knuckle supporting the axle. Really good proven setup. Not a lot of geometry changes on this. They have a new tower on the front. Again, the shocks are front shocks. They do have limiters in there as well. I didn't mention that before, so it helps drop the car down to a proper ride height. And the kick-up is actually the same on the 22S. No geometry changes there. Kind of just moving back around. In the steering department, we have the 22 style of steering cranks. There's a servo saver spring built into the left side here, and they've got adjustable links out to the steering knuckles. The servo mount has been revised because, as you can see, we've got an aluminum chassis on here. I'll get to that in a second, but that has been revised from the 22S series. And let's move on to the chassis now. So the 22S actually had a plastic chassis. It was a bottom load battery setup, and Losi decided to just start off clean and with a new aluminum chassis. It's a 3mm thick chassis. It's got this nice gray anodizing on there. Let me flip it over really quick so you can see the bottom. The edges are beveled, so there's extra rigidity to it. But they really wanted to start off from scratch here so they could place everything where it needs to be. The battery is now placed where it's going to work very well for drag racing. We've got some new side guards here as well. They even have little channels to go and run the wires. I like that detail. That is very cool. And they've got these big Nerf wings on the side, which help support the body. I like that as well. So it's a really good looking chassis, and it's rigid, which is important. The other thing I want to mention here while I'm talking about the chassis is the battery mount. So it's got an elastomer here now, which makes battery changes really easy, really simple. And it fits a 2S pack or a 3S pack. So the tunnel here is very tall, so you can put a 3S pack in here. Most people are probably going to run a 2S pack, and so the elastomer actually has little notches as well to adjust for the different size battery heights. Really like that, and it's got the cool new L for Losi logo in there. I just think that setup looks fantastic, and I like how versatile it is. All right, moving a little farther back here, here is a new rear shock tower, really thick. And again, we've got front shocks on the rear just for their low height. And again, they do have internal limiters. All right, I'm gonna spin this thing around to the back, and this is where we're gonna start to get into the details that people really want to know. Let's start off with the rear suspension. So new suspension arms, I think I mentioned that in the front as well. They fit the width of a drag car. The chassis is very short course in wheelbase, but the width is changed up to more of a buggy style arm to kind of get that width where it needs to be for a proper drag car. So we've got new rear arms on there, the 22S style of rear hub carriers, and really bulky looking hub carriers. Minimal adjustment on there, not a lot of adjustment is needed. Just you'll see like 2 holes everywhere for it, so you could go and tune this car, but it's not a ton of adjustment. And it's pretty well set up right out of the box. I'll just point out there are rear tie rods, adjustable tie rods as well. And those arms feel pretty rigid. I think it's gonna work well out there on the strip. All right, now let's get into the transmission. So it's got the 22S transmission, kind of a stand-up style transmission, all metal gears on the inside, all sealed bearings. And then in the differential, it's a metal differential gear, all metal gears on the inside. It is sealed and it comes with 500,000 weight oil. So it's a pretty stiff oil, just exactly what you're going to need for drag racing. When I did open it up, it wasn't full, but it looked, you know, like it was filled properly. You may want to add some more, you know, depending on your driving style. But I just kind of, you know, I'll overlay a picture of it so you can see how full it was. Just wanted to point that out. All right, like I said, all metal gears on the inside, all sealed ball bearings, and then over here we do have a dual pad slipper clutch. The slipper clutch is pretty much the same that was on the 22S's as far as the pads and the plates and everything like that, but it's very well set from what I was told right out of the box, and you shouldn't really have to mess with it. You know, gear cover to cover up the pinion and spur gear. We've got a small pinion 84 tooth spur on there, little plug here so you could go and adjust the slipper nut if you do need to, but really robust setup. We've got steel CV style universals to put the power down, short universals. And one thing I do want to mention is there is a transmission riser on here. So it allows the transmission to come up and it allows the dog bones to sit at a level height versus when people go and lower their cars, the drive shaft angle points down, and you really want that to be as level as possible. So they went and put a riser in there. So I do like that setup. All right, now we've got this wheelie bar mount setup, body mount setup back here that we need to talk about. We've got this big V for the body mount. The body posts are adjustable, so if you do go and throw a different body on there, you will be able to adjust the body post height. I like that. But the cage underneath it supports this new wheelie bar setup. It's got a new motor cover in the back, and we get onto the wheelie bar, and it's a composite wheelie bar. There are ball bearings in the plastic wheels here, and you can see this tie rod out back that allows you to adjust your wheelie bar height, and that's very important. You know, people want to adjust this depending on how they're running the car, and Losi identified that and allowed you to go and adjust it properly for your particular setting. So I like that setup. And the cage here for the motor that the wheelie bar mounts to, you'll notice there are spots here where you could go and put a optional sway bar. So I like that. I was told there will be a sway bar very soon for it, and maybe they'll have it when this thing is released. But that might be a nice option to pick up for this car. All right, I think that really rounds it out. Aluminum motor plate, that's really nice. And I think it's time to talk about the electronics in here. We've got the S606 servo in here. This is your basic standard servo. It is a waterproof servo. I believe it is plastic gears. I didn't take the servo horn off of there, but it's your basic standard servo, which will probably be fine for the drag car steering in here. And then moving back really quickly, here is your leads to plug in your LED lights. And then over here, let me spin this around, is where the receiver is. So I like that they went and put it in a receiver box here, tucks everything away nice and neat. But inside is the Spectrum 315 receiver. What I really like about the receiver in here is it's the dual protocol. So it runs the SLT protocol and the DSM protocol from Spectrum, which I'll show you guys the radio in a minute, talk about a little bit more. But it's a really good receiver to have in here. All right, now we have the Spectrum Firma 100 amp speed controller, really good looking speed controller. We've got the cooling fan up top. It is a programmable speed controller, so you go in here and tune it a little bit using the set button on the switch. Really like the switch setup as well, just a nice easy push button switch. And then we have a IC5 plug. So this will take the high current that this speed controller is looking for to lay down some power. And it looks like they've got a cat pack on there as well. That's a nice addition to see on this car. Now, let me spin this thing around really quick.
There is a Firma 6500 kV motor back here. This is a new high kV motor from Spectrum. Usually we see stuff that is much lower, but they wanted you to be able to go and be competitive with this car right out of the box. And so they went and put a high kV motor in there so you have the power you need to get down the strip. Really liking the setup overall. I mean, the wires are run really neat, just a clean look to the chassis. All right, now let me just walk over here really quickly because I want to show you what else comes in the box. So here's the Spectrum SLT3 radio that it comes with. It's a basic radio from Spectrum, runs the SLT protocol, which is actually really good. It's a good radio system. I thought maybe they should have the Spectrum DX3 in here, but talking to my contact over at Losi, not a marketing guy, I've got my inside contacts over there, they said they wanted to keep it more budget oriented for the people buying it, and if they wanted to, they could go and upgrade the radio system later on to, let's say, a DX5 Pro and still use that receiver I told you guys about. So it's pretty cool that they kept it on a budget and you have the ability to upgrade by just buying a transmitter, not having to buy the receiver. All right, here are all the manuals and stuff that come with it. We've got the 22S manual for the chassis. We've got a sheet here that shows you all the option parts that are already available for this. If you want to go put some option parts on there, a breakdown of the car and the body set. Here's some decals that comes with it, your basic tools, and the little Proline sheet, and a little sheet here to register for some free swag. That's pretty cool. There's the 22S. There's the cool looking box. Here is the cool looking car. I can't wait to go outside and pull a throttle on this. Let's head out and take it for a rip. Ready, go. Alright guys, as you know, it's winter time, and finding a spot to run a drag car during winter is not easy in the Northeast. There's either snow in the parking lots, water, sand, or even salt. So I found this spot. It's gonna have to work for now. I've already ripped on this car a couple times. It is pretty awesome. I'm gonna go heat up the tires and take it for another rip. Watch this. Are you ready for another pass? Man, I have to hit the brakes hard so I don't hit the snowbank at the end, but this thing is fast and it takes off so straight. Oh, I love it. All right, let's get in another one.
That was almost full throttle. Whoa, look at that. It danced around as I hit the brakes. There's a lot of control over this car. I have not been taking it easy on this. I want to see what the temperature is on the electronics. Ready? Go. Oh, got a little sideways there on that one. Didn't want to hit the cone. Let's just back off, bring it back. This parking lot is not prepped. There is sand all over it. There's cracks and bumps. I bet you if the surface was prepped, this thing would just take off, go straight as soon as you hit the throttle. Yeah! Woo! Giving those metal gears a workout. Losi nailed it. This thing is dialed right out of the box. Whoa! Got to steer out of that one. Full control, baby. Woo! All right. I think that wraps it up. Let's head back to the workshop. Actually, before we head back to the workshop, I just wanted to show you guys. I mean, I did pass after pass after pass, and I could just put my hands on everything. They're just slightly warm. The speed controller is slightly warm, motor's slightly warm, battery's totally fine. Now, that was a 2S pack. Actually, I have a 3S pack, so let's put that in and take it for a few more rips. I've got the 3S pack in there now. I let everything cool down for a little bit. Now I'm gonna put some heat in the tires and we'll see what it could do. Oh, it sounds mean now. All right, ready? Whoa! Good God! That's got some rip now, guys. Yeah. Whoa! I wish I had a bigger lot to really just rip on it. I'm worried about hitting the snow at the end. All right, let's do another run. Even with 3S. Whoa! Do another one. That was a hammer on that one. Yeah, whoa, whoa. Little pirouette at the end. Whoa. Yeah, whoa. You see those tires grow? I think it grabs the body a little bit on 3S, those tires. They're very close to the back of the body. But that was awesome. All right, now we'll go back to the workshop. So a few months ago, the Losi LMT landed here at the workshop, and after just a few minutes of driving it, I was totally hooked. I can't wait for everything to open back up so I could go race solid axle Mazda trucks. I'd never really done it before, but as soon as I drove that truck, I absolutely loved it. And then this thing arrived from Losi, and it totally got me hooked on drag racing. I mean, I've dabbled in some drag cars here and there, mostly, built them up and then used them as top speed cars, but never really drove anything like a no prep car before. And just after a few passes with this thing, I can't wait to go run in a no prep drag race. In fact, I talked to my local hobby shop already to see if there's any clubs basically forming in our area. That's how much I had fun with this car. So what I'm getting at here is Losi's new releases are making a big impact in the RC community. Losi absolutely nailed it. I mean, number one, this thing looks awesome on the tarmac. This body is so cool. The stance of the car, just absolutely incredible. And then they send it over the top with the chrome grille and the LED lights and everything like that. They nailed it for the scale detail on here, but they backed it up with performance. This thing, I mean, you almost don't have to drive it. It's, in my opinion, again, I'm not a drag car racer, but this was like cheating to me. Literally, you just had to put it down, and I ran it with a 2S pack to start, pull the throttle, and it just took off absolutely straight. I had almost zero steering input into it, and it just tracked all the way down. The speed was phenomenal on it. The traction was awesome. I mean, they did a killer job on the setup. And as I mentioned early on, it's a really, to me, a car that you could take to a track, unbox it there, put in a charged battery, and compete and have a great time doing it. To break down for you what I can, traction-wise, the traction was awesome. These tires are sticky. It took a little bit to break them in. After they were broken in, I just put the car down, heat up the tires for a few seconds, and pull the throttle, and it would just take off. Tons of traction. And actually, after heating up the tires, if you pick up the car, you'll notice that there is a little bit of rubber coming off because the tires are that sticky and they would stay warm. So after I'd come back from a pass, I'd check the tires and they were hot. The only thing is when you are heating up the tires, make sure you give some decent pressure to the wheelie bar, because if you allow the car to kind of raise up a little bit, those tires will expand, they'll start catching on the body, you'll hear it fluttering and you stop, but you just got to give it the right amount of pressure, and the tires warm up nice and easily. There's even traction in the front of this. I mean, there's rubber coming off the front tires as well. So, you know, traction wise, this thing is really dialed. It just has a little squat to it. It takes off and goes. It's dialed right out of the box. So a lot of those runs were on 2S, and then I switched over to 3S. 3S, it's just a monster. There's a little bit more driving on a 3S battery pack. You'll have to roll into the throttle just a tad, and you may have to do a little steering correction, but still, it's a beast. It's a rocket out there, and you know, I was running in a minimal sized parking lot. I did have 132 feet mapped out there, and I would have to get on the brakes at the end, but I kept hammering on it. I kept driving it pass after pass after pass, stabbing the brakes at the end. It was pirouetting, spinning around and stuff. So I was hammering on the transmission. That's totally fine, no problems there. In fact, the rear differential still feels great. The oil that it was in there, I kind of mentioned before, it seemed like you may need to add a little bit more. It seems fine. It still feels as good as when I took it out of the box. Temperature wise on the electronics, they did warm up, and you shouldn't really go pass after pass after pass. These electronics are taking a hard hit. You're just hammering on the throttle. So if you do that over and over again, they're going to heat up, and maybe you don't feel it on the outside of the electronics, but inside is getting warm or even hot. So give your equipment a little bit of a break between runs, and you know, it will last you a long time, so you don't go into thermal or anything like that. But overall, this thing is really good. I rolled it, I christened the body. Unfortunately, it's all scratched up now. I rolled it twice, but it was kind of, the second roll was a violent roll, and you know, no broken arms or anything like that to report to you guys. The body is, again, scuffed from rolling it, obviously, but the tires do kind of hit the top of the wheel wells in the rear. So my tip to you is when you get one of these, add some tape on the inside above the tire so it doesn't wear away at the paint like it did on mine. You know, the rear spoiler is fine, just a couple little nicks in it, but no cracks or anything like that. This is just a really cool car. I mean, could I recommend you do anything to it? I might go and put a better servo in for the steering, but other than that, I think I'm just going to run it as is. Maybe I'll put my DX5 Pro in there, but this thing is just so cool. Losi did an awesome job. And for those of you that want a roller, yes, there is a roller coming. I don't know what it's actually going to include in it, but I am able to tell you that there is a roller, which is pretty cool. Or, you know, you can just get the ready to run and have fun instantly with it. I think Losi did a fantastic job. All right, guys, let me know what you think of this car. No Prep Drag Racing. Do you have a club near you that does it? Shout that club out in the comment section below, so people watching this that want to get into drag cars could maybe find a track easier, you know, when they get into their car. All right, hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell, throw the video a like, and we'll see you back soon for some more RC Driver videos.